Story 1. I have a knack for remembering random trivia. I can recall obscure facts about almost anything, like how many holes are in a straw or the original name of a popular snack. It's a gift that makes me the reigning champion of pub quizzes and the go-to person for awkward silences at parties. Who knew knowing that a group of flamingos is called a flamboyance would come in handy? Story 2. Understanding people's feelings and seeing their perspectives as if they were mine. I guess I am a great listener, but I rarely like to talk about myself. Story 3. I can recognize any acquaintance in a public place. It doesn't matter how crowded it is. If my eyes move around them even once, I can recognize them in a second, even if I have only seen them 1 or 2 times in the past. Next is problem solving on a daily life basis. Another one is I am very good at map reading, understanding, and retaining it. One more is self-analysis, and another is humor. Story 4. I am naturally good at finding hobbies, getting to an intermediate level, or investing hundreds of hours into either learning or doing the hobby and then just completely getting bored of it and moving on to something else. Story 5. I'm an excellent visual learner, and I love art. I can pick up any artistic craft easily. Right now, I'm into the fiber arts, floor loom weaving, knitting, crochet, hand sewing. I especially like to learn about the history of how things were made. I want to spin my own yarn, dye my own fabric with natural plant dyes, and make things from complete scratch. Story 6. I've been able to help people with very bad grades to recover quickly just by changing the way they approach a topic. People learn in different ways, and there should be the right approach for each one of them. Story 7. I can predict the plot, ending, and most major details of about 90% of films that I am watching for the first time. It is always within about 15 minutes. I have had to learn to keep it to myself because I spoil movies for other people by accident because I am almost always right. It has been like this for most of my life, and I have no idea where it comes from. Story 8. Singing. I have a naturally good voice. I always feel a bit awkward when people praise me for it because all I have is the right shaped throat. I do practice and work on my performance of songs, but it doesn't feel the same as if I had learned guitar or piano or something like that. Story 9. I'm one of those people who can't visualize or see any mental images at all. My whole world is formed through words. That's how I remember things and people I'm not directly looking at. Somehow, this created an amazing ability to form written storylines, and I'm actually really grateful for that. Story 10. Eating spicy food. I have been good at it since I was a little kid. I have only ever met one person as good as me. She was a 4'6", 100-year-old Indian woman. Story 11. Copying a drawing down to the tiniest detail. I can't, for the life of me, come up with original drawings or art, but I can recreate almost anything as long as I can see it. Story 12. Breaking down complex problems and presenting the issue's core in straightforward terms. Additionally, I can translate complex issues into straightforward explanations. Story 13. Hitting the snooze button on my alarm, but in reality, something I'm good at is skateboarding, and I've recently discovered I'm pretty good at disc golf. Story 14. Using similes to sum up information and simplify concepts. I've been doing it since I was 2 years old. My first one was when my dad explained condensation to me, and I immediately compared it to the condensation that occurs on the outside of a glass of water. Story 15. Doing things backwards. Somehow I keep learning to do things in the freest way, like knitting. I'm apparently a left-handed knitter, and it weirds everyone out. Story 16. I have a selectively very good long-term memory. I can recall vivid details and information from childhood. I remember birthdays of kids in my 4th grade class who probably don't even remember I exist. When I meet a person, I nearly always retain their name and details they share with me about their lives. I've learned to withhold this skill and pretend I know less than I do because it unsettles people. I went to the AT&T store in 2006 to get a new phone before I went away to college, and in 2012, I saw the woman who helped me on the train and remembered her and her name. She actually wasn't unsettled. She thought it was awesome and was so flattered. Story 17. Honestly, I would say performing and entertaining, making people feel seen, motivating people, and working at a place for a few weeks to a month to see what doesn't work and how to make it more efficient. Story 18. Reflexes. I don't know how or why, but mine are incredibly fast. Talking about stuff like catching things I've dropped in midair, or being able to catch things that were unexpectedly tossed to me. Story 19. Ice skating. I got on the ice for the first time at 14 and was immediately able to skate, stop, and turn. It's like the only thing where this has happened. Laughing my ass off. Story 20. Directions. I can drive somewhere once or twice in a new area and have it ingrained in my memory. I'm able to find my way back pretty easily just by seeing it in my mind. Story 21. Humility. I am so humble. I have humility like you have never seen before. Even my third-grade teacher thought so. She said to me, "Donnie, you are so humble." And I agreed. Story 22. I was naturally gifted with strength. I lifted an entire sofa, the 3- or 4-seater ones, at 16. Adrenaline was rushing, so I had 100% strength. Now, here's the thing. My entire bloodline never hit the gym once in their lives. Story 23. I am very good at getting information from people and remembering it. I can usually get lots of very deep personal information from someone within 15 minutes of meeting for the first time. Story 24. I can reach into a sale rack and pull out the exact right item of clothing. Size, style, fabric, color, and price. It works for me and my husband. Can't be taught. It is a gift from the shopping gods. Story 25. I can pick up beats very quickly. I don't have to practice drums or any such instruments. I can go and play as long as it is not a double bass drum, of course. Story 26. Remembering names, numbers, birth dates, melodies, animal breeds, quotes, book or movie plots, trauma. Reacting very quickly, which often includes not thinking things through. Story 27. I have perfect pitch, so if anyone needs an instrument tuned, I can just do it. Growing up, I played guitar and assumed everyone could do it until, in my teens, I did a few lessons and my teacher was very surprised when he saw me do it. Turns out not many can. Edit. In case any music enthusiasts get concerned, technically I have relative pitch. I have an E in my head that I have to calculate up or down from in semitones. It's hard to explain. It's like memory and always knowing the notes. Story 28. Color matching. Just like having a bedspread at home without a photo of it, you can pick out accent pieces at the store that are a perfect match. The same goes for paint, clothes, or anything really. Hues and clues is my favorite. Story 29. Reading people with extreme accuracy seems like it would be a cool gift to have or obtain, but it's actually really annoying. Ignorance is bliss. Story 30. Dancing. I started taking classes when I was 9, and my only regret is that I didn't start sooner. Movement just comes naturally to me, in the same way that words come to a writer. Story 31. I am by no means a virtuoso, but I just get music. I started playing bass at 8 years old. I have a great sense of rhythm, I grasp music theory very easily, I know how to listen and play by ear, and I know how to play with other people. I'm a lead guitarist, but I pride myself on not being one of those lead guitarists who think the show is about them. I don't play too loudly unless it's warranted, and I give people their space to be creative without overplaying. I don't mean to brag, but I'm 30, have been practicing guitar intensively for about 12 years now, and many people who are twice my age and very good musicians say that I play like I've been doing it for way longer than my actual time practiced. Story 32. For some reason, when I was a little kid, I excelled at both the moment I put them on my feet. I'm not sure why, but they just felt natural to me. Story 33. Packing. I can make the most efficient use of any given space. Moving truck, suitcase, box, anything where you have to put a lot of stuff into a contained space for transporting it. I've even had the ticket checker at Costco comment on how efficient my cart looked. It's my superpower. Story 34. Remembering birthdays. I had a classmate mention his birthday one time offhandedly to someone that wasn't even me. 1 year later, he's like, "Oh, no one knows my birthday." I do. It's August 19th. He asks me how I knew, and I had to awkwardly explain how he randomly mentioned it one time a year ago. And yeah, still funny to me. Story 35. I'm surprisingly good at surviving. Like it almost seems like it's impossible for me to die. I'm also pretty good at acting sober, or at least pretending I'm not on anything and just feeling off. Story 36. I am really good at remembering specific dates of events that happened even years ago. For example, I remember a specific bad storm that hit on July 17, 2010. Story 37. I've always been able to talk with business people and investors. As a chef, it's part of my job to shake hands and make the very important persons feel like very important persons. Story 38. Offending people. I'm sarcastic and tend to just assume everyone knows this, even people I've never spoken to before online, which I'm aware is phenomenally stupid. Story 39. I have weirdly good aim. Whether that's making a basket or throwing something into a small hole, you can give me a spray bottle, put it on stream, and I can hit almost any target you want me to. But I wish I was good at something more useful. Laughing my head off. Story 40. Diagnostics, cars, machinery, etc. Later in life, it only became a burden. I don't have any actual friends, only users. The sad, but over time it has led to a personal freeing with time. For there becomes a realization that we truly travel our own path. Story 41. Storytelling. My formative years involved being part of a tourist crowd because my father was taking care of gawking tourists. Adding his own children to the mix doubled his responsibilities. This, along with my passion for reading and my earliest treasures being books, led to my deep interest in stories. Story 42. Picking the most expensive items. When remodeling our kitchen and looking at cabinets, countertops, handles, and all that stuff, I would always say, "Oh, I like this one." And without fail, they would always be the most expensive in the place. Story 43. I am naturally good at thinking, sometimes overthinking. It gives me a broad perspective about everything, but it also makes me nervous in situations. Story 44. Finding a word when someone is talking and struggling to remember, ending their phrase for them, etc. That, or the name of games or shows my siblings try to remember from our childhood. Being a good listener. Noticing when someone says he is okay when he actually isn't okay. Finding the right words to help when it's needed. Story 45. To overthink in a good way. Maybe a little pessimistic, always thinking to see the worst thing that could happen. I love it in a way that I'm prepared for the worst, and glad at the same time if things work out in a good direction. Story 46. I'm pretty good at finding pieces of media that will permanently make a part of my brain and that shaped the depressed girl I am. Examples being Fallout 4, Detroit Become Human, Dead by Daylight, Dying Light, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, Deep Rock Galactic, Murder Drones, Hell of a Boss, Has Been Hotel, Halo, Hamilton, God of War, Grand Theft Auto 5, The Owl House, Adventures of Tintin, The Secret of the Unicorn, Battlefield, Call of Duty, Air Mech Arena, Castle Crashers, Battle Block Theater, and so many more. Story 47. I had quite a traumatic childhood, and now, whenever there is a crisis in my life or an emergency, I have the ability to remain calm and not stress about it. Panicking and worrying solve nothing. Story 48. Remembering tunes and songs, like I'd hear something and be like, "Oh my gosh, wait, I've heard this before," and go through my memory to remember the name of the song. One time I heard a classical song and was like, "Oh my gosh, it's the original song for Beethoven Virus." But when I tried showing the similarities to other people, they didn't see it even though it's just a remix. Story 49. I'm a fan of the growth mindset, but not so much about the book that kicked it off, as there is no leeway in there for neurodiversity. So, I'm not a fan of saying anyone is a natural at anything, the best at any sport or practice constantly. However, I rarely fire a gun. I've picked up air rifles and 22s and been outstanding with both. My hand-eye coordination is poor. My ball-eye coordination is terrible. I can't throw a stone on target, but I pick up a gun or a bow and arrow and hit bullseyes all day long. Axis? No. Varks? No. Computer games? Only if it is a gun controller. As a starting point, though I'm not quick, and at longer distances or with higher calibers, I'll need work. But with a brain that sees the world so differently, many problems just seem to be straightforward things. That's what I've got. Story 50. Verbally cutting my opponent in an argument to shreds, putting them in their place by use of correct facts and linguistic expertise, although in my head, 2 hours after walking away defeated. Story 51. Learning languages. However, I've given up on Vietnamese and Malaysian. Even if I can learn the words, my accent prevents me from pronouncing them correctly. But I'm up to 7 efficient languages. Story 52. Guessing people's genuine intent and feelings, which makes people uncomfortable around me because whatever their character act doesn't work well on me. That talent is essentially a curse because I have a hard time being comfortable around people myself. It's been a lonely life. Story 53. Multitasking. I can actively cook dinner, follow a TV show without a problem, play a game on my phone with my other hand, and have a conversation at the same time. Story 54. I'm good with kids without much effort. Children seem to gravitate towards me and want to chat with me. I'm also good at fixing things and understanding how machinery works. Story 55. Basketball and mathematics both have one thing in common. I never trained or practiced them, yet I'm good at them. Don't talk to me about physics and chemistry, though. I hate them. I ended up in medical school where there is no mathematics, ironically. I didn't want engineering to make me hate mathematics. Story 56. Finding practical solutions to problems. I hoard information and organize it efficiently, looking after people's mental health, whether it's emotional or logical, being communicative, constructive, and informative on any subject. But I make a lot of mistakes and love when I'm wrong. It's why it feels natural to be good at what I do. Before you think I am a therapist, as too many people have asked, I do 3-dimensional animations as a hobby and professionally.